Friday. Shabbat Shalom for tomorrow. I literally thought it was Friday the last video I made. I don't know why. I think I was just like really, my days were really discombobulated this week from being sick last week. I think it just threw my whole, I don't know. I just thought it was Friday the other day. And then after my video, I like looked at my phone and I was like, what? It's not even Friday. Anyway, I just think it's funny. Um, But I love Fridays. I love Monday. I love every day. I love Saturdays. Um, so today I just wanted to jump on here and give you guys like a little, just an update. I was gonna do a teaching today, but something something else just transpired kind of that was on my heart, and I wanted to talk about it. And so you guys can jump on the chat if you want to. I am sorry, my hair is hitting the roof of my car. Um, I'm just gonna jump on here for a minute and just talk about, um, you know, uh, being here in New York City. The city's coming back to life because the weather's warmed up this week. It's so nice. Everything just, winter is so barren and so still and so somber. And I was in this car, so I was freezing, and I was just going through a trial, by fire, and 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 the thing about this whole trial has been not understanding why he said come here, not understanding any of it, right? And but by faith, like believing God and traveling to New York. I'm living in my car in the middle of Brooklyn, like just, but I still don't know have the why, but I have the peace. And so that's what's important, is that you have the peace. Like I knew he said go north. I knew that without a shadow of a doubt. So anytime I get into doubt, I have to go back to the last thing he said and be like, nope, I clearly heard that, and stand on that, even if I don't understand. And so sorry, the sun is like setting right now, so it's like a weird time of day, but for the past 2 months, especially, been really hard because it was frigid cold and I could see my breath 24 hours a day, and just trying to survive and be warm and eat every day and just go through the struggle, and then, but it's not just going through the struggle. That's whatever. It's maintaining a positive outlook while you're going through the struggle, being grateful while you're going through the struggle, having hope, and not getting depressed, not getting down, and that's hard, especially last week when I was sick and my ear closed up, and I was miserable, and I was in this car and it was freezing, and I just wanted my mom. I'm just like, like frustrated. But I think last week was the worst week by far of everything that I've been through, and it was only mainly because I was sick, and the weather, it was just wearing me down, because the whole winter I've been in here, and especially for me, like last week, because I was so sick, I didn't get all my chores done. I didn't get the car cleaned out, and so all that stuff was piling up on me. It just made everything 10 times worse. And then I guess a couple days ago the weather changed, and I have just been like running the streets and like living life again and feeling alive, and the whole city's come back to life, and it's so nice. But as I was preparing to do the next teaching on the temple, um, the inner court, I for some reason I just thought, oh, let me go back, and because I wrote a whole book about the temple, and I was like, let me go back and read the book, and I haven't read it. Honestly, I wrote that book. I started preparing to write the book. It's on Amazon. It's like, I'm not trying to push my book. I'm just saying, like, I published it. I wrote it back. I started to prepare to write it back in 2017, I think. And then I think I wrote it in 2018. I mean, God started preparing me to write it back in 2010, but he gave me the vision of the temple in 2017, and then I spent a whole year going through this massive trial. And at the end of the year, he came to me with eyes like fire, and he, with a voice like many waters, and he spoke to me, and he said, Marisa, you need to write. And so then I can't even see. So when I woke up from that dream, I just started typing, and it took me 9 months to the day to write the book. And so after I wrote it, because it took me 9 months, and during the 9 months of writing it, my whole world got ripped apart, even more so than it already was. It was like I went from the I went from what do they call it? The frying pan to the fire. I don't know. There's an expression, but like it went from bad to worse, basically. And so while I'm in the midst of writing this book, it was the first time I had ever experienced any type of like real homelessness, like where I was sleeping in my car. And I remember just singing praises to the Lord and just being like so full of faith and just like, yes, Lord, I know I'm supposed to do this. But it was, sorry, there's a motorcycle. It was that crushing while I was going through this intense fire that was giving me the oil to write the book, right? It was, that's what was producing the oil to write the book. And I remember, and I'd forgotten all about this, right? And so I wrote the book the day I finished it. It took everything, all my life force to write this book. I'm telling you, it was not easy. And the day I finished writing it, the next morning, I woke up to a phone call from a stranger, a woman I had just met one time, and I'd given her my phone number, but we met in passing. She just asked me for my phone number, and I had no idea who she was. All right, this sun is moving. Sorry. So I had no idea who she was, right? And at the time, and I just met her briefly, and we exchanged numbers, and then I finished the book, and the next morning, out of nowhere, this woman calls me, and I had been living in my car, and that particular night I had stayed with a friend on their couch or whatever. And so I answer my phone, and I'm like, yes, hello, and I had just woken up, and she'd woke me up, with the phone call, and she's like, I need your help. And I'm like, who are you? I don't know who you are, and she's like, get dressed, I need you to help me today. And I was like, lady, I wish I could help you, but my life is in shambles, and my car, I'm living in, I didn't want to tell her all my troubles that I was going through at the time. I can talk about them now, but during the time that I was homeless, the Lord wouldn't let me tell anybody what I was going through. He said, do not tell anybody what you were going through. And so there was only like one or two people in my whole life that even knew, and that's just because they were in my life. They knew my life, right? So this woman's like on the phone with me, and she's like, no, the Lord said you had to help me today. And I'm like, this is a joke. Am I being punked? Am I being punked? I was like, lady, my car's broke down, because my car had just broken down. That's why I was sleeping on my friend's couch, because I was homeless sleeping in my car, but I couldn't even sleep in my car. That's how bad things had gotten. And I'd just been fired from my job for talking about Jesus, and I'd been kicked out of my house for doing the right thing, for doing something good, or what I thought was like the right thing to do, and then I still got punished for it, right? So I was just going through trial after trial after trial. It was like nonstop. And she's like, no, like, she would not take no for an answer. She's like, where's your car? I'll get it fixed. Tell me where your car is. And she went and had my car towed and fixed it. And I was like, lady, who are you? And you know what I mean? Like, why are you calling me? What do you need from me? What can I even do for you? And so she came and picked me up, and we had lunch, and through her, hold on, here comes an ambulance. It's a noisy place to live. So she took me to lunch, and we spent 3 or 4 hours talking, and she needed help with her daughter. And I was, it was a long story what she needed from me, but it was basically like, she needed counseling. And I was, and anyway, she ended up having a business, a company. She gave me a job where I could fully make my own schedule. She fixed my car. And then she took me to, I didn't tell her I was homeless, but I guess she kind of knew I was struggling. So I started working for her. And then like a week later, she took me to this apartment, this condo, and it was like a two bedroom condo on the golf course. And she owned it. And she's like, just pay the, you know, she let me move in, like fully furnished, lights on, power on, everything. So the day I finished writing this book, God has some stranger call me, and they give me a job. They give me a beautiful place to live on the golf course for like the cost of the HOAs. And then, and then she fixed my car and everything. And so like what I'm saying is, I needed to go through that struggle to write the book. I needed to go through this struggle to write the book. It was crushing me to be able to produce the oil to write the book. But here's the thing, since I wrote the book, I then it was on my laptop for probably 2 years. I didn't even look at it. And the Lord would say, the Lord told me, I'll tell you when to publish it. I'll tell you when to publish it. So literally, it sat on my hard drive for 2 years. And then right before I left for California, he said, okay, I want you to publish it. And so, hey, Serena. So I published it the week before I left on Amazon, and just the Kindle version, the e version. And and that was 2 years after I even wrote it. And then a few months ago, they sent me an email and told me to put it on paperback. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So I did that. But I haven't read the book since I wrote it. I honestly wrote the book and I probably edited it and stuff. And once I was done with the whole process, I couldn't even read it like all the way through. Do you know what I mean? It, for some reason, it just, I don't know why I couldn't read it. For the longest time, I just couldn't read it. I mean, the information, that all the stuff is in me, so I know what I wrote. It's not like that. But there was something about it, was like the memory of what I went through to write the book. I couldn't look at it for the longest time. And so today, for some reason, I just pulled it up and I started reading it. And I just started crying. And I was like, how? And I'm not trying to like talk myself up, because when I read the words, I don't even understand how I wrote that book, right? It wasn't me that wrote it. It was literally the Lord, his anointing on me, his words. I was just like the conduit in which he used to write it, right? But I just read the whole thing and I was like how did that come out of me? You know what I mean? Like I don't even understand it. But when I was reading it, it was beautiful, because I see now, like, so much of my life makes sense now. I guess this is what I'm trying to say. That book was the blueprint for what he was doing in my life, in my heart. And even since that time, I've been through way harder struggles than the struggle I went through that year to write the book. That was a hard struggle. But I'm telling you, I have been through way worse. Walking across California, 10 times worse. 10 times worse than that. Like a million times worse, probably. But what I realized was that ever since he told me to go north and come up here, all the circumstances are the same. I'm living in my car. I don't know where my next meal is coming from. All those same. I'm every day, it's a struggle to survive and stay warm. All these struggles, right? But this time, now that I've been here in New York, none of it, I'm telling you, minus being sick last week, none of it has fazed me. Whereas me back then, even when I wrote the book, I was sleeping in my car, but I mean, literally, it was just for like 2 weeks. It wasn't even a big deal. It was like, I mean, like there was, I mean, it might have been longer, but it was not a long time. And I look back at those struggles, and it wasn't that the struggles were that terrible. I'm going through way worse now, probably. But it was my immature heart that couldn't handle it back then. But now that I'm going through this same thing, probably worse things than I ever went through then, and no income, but I don't even think about those things, right? Like, no, I mean, when I say no income, I have I have people that bless me to be able to exist, and through God leads them. So I'm saying I don't have a regular income, like a job. So what I'm saying is, all those same issues that I was going through way back then to write the book, that first hard trial that I went through, all the stuff I was going through then, I'm going through now, but probably way more scary, way more, like, there's no way that version of me could do what this version of me is doing, right? And so I realized, like, writing that book was God shows us the end from the beginning. He was showing me all the things he was going to do in my life through this book, like, in me. I'm not saying like selling 1 million copies or anything like that. I'm saying the things I wrote about in that book were the things that I was still going to have to go through. I thought I went through them to be able to write the book, and kind of I did on a small scale, but those things were also a foreshadowing of the bigger trials that I would have to go through, because we're constantly being refined. The refiner's fire, you go in, you heat it, you let it cool, you get the impurities out, and then you do it again. It's a repetitive process. When someone's making a clay pot or clay vessel, they'll build it up, and if there's any weakness in it, they will crash that whole thing down and redo the whole thing. God does that with us. We are on his potter's wheel, and he will literally mold that thing until it is just right. Because if you put it in the fire and it cracks, you got to start over. You just wasted a whole vessel. So So when God's refining us, the whole refining process is sometimes it takes several goes, but then you get to this place where you don't crack in the fire. And that's what he's been showing me about this whole thing in New York is like, man, I'm telling you, like, a bomb could go off in Manhattan and it wouldn't even faze me right now. Like, I'm that dead serious when I say that. Like the amount of growth that I can see in myself compared to that version of me, which I wouldn't have even realized this had I not read the book today. Because I'm thinking to myself as I read it, how did that immature girl write that book? You know what I mean? So it couldn't have been my words. It couldn't have been my words that wrote the book because at the time, even though I knew them mentally, I didn't know them in my heart, right? Even though I knew that was the truth of God's word, I still didn't have it actualized and in me and moved from head knowledge to heart knowledge, right? And I remember for years I would try to teach what was in that book. I would try to teach what was in the book, and God would shut it down every time. No, you're not ready. No, you're not ready. No, you're not ready. And this is the first time in my life where he's like, no, go for it, teach. Like, teach away, you know. And he hasn't put a stop to it. And so I just realized that over the years, like, he was doing a bigger work than we can see sometimes. And a lot of times we want to rush that process, and when we don't understand, we freak out, and our need for control, my need for control, can take over. Like, I was such a control freak, and now I'm just like, literally, like, I don't know anything. The Lord's doing it. He said this. I believe it. I don't need the answers. I used to have to know, Lord, why, when, what, all the W's. I had to who, what, when, why, and where. That was me all the time. And now I've gotten to this place in my life where I'm like, people call me all the time and they're like, what are you doing in New York? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't feel the need to validate it or give an answer for it or explain it, because it's like, I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I have peace. And so we'll just run with that. And I think that that's where he's trying to get us, is to this place of total surrender, of like, just just breathe and let him take control, and apart from him we can do nothing, and just totally be one with him, and that oneness with him of letting go and letting the fire burn us. And when it's not going to burn us, let just be in the fire with him. We will come out and we won't even smell like smoke, literally. Until you can go into a fire and come out not smelling like smoke, believe me, you got some work to do. If you go into that fire kicking and screaming and come out crying and sobbing, the fire hasn't done its perfect work. You need to go in the fire willfully, and you need to come out of the fire smiling. That's how you are mature. And that was the revelation I had today. It was like, all this makes sense now, because being here in New York and living in my car and all this stuff, it's like it was it's like all my past trials all rolled into one. But this version of me, it doesn't even faze me. And so I was just like, minus when my ear was hurting because I'm a baby. But 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 literally, I just thank God, because and I don't know why, but it took me so long to read that book. But I was grateful. Maybe God was saving it for today, because it was like today when I read it, I just had like this amazing moment with the Lord of like, oh, it was like clarity. It was divine clarity of like what he's been doing in my life all these years. And so some answers we pray like, Lord, why am I going through this? Why do I go through this all the time? Why? And it's like this never ending trial, or it's like trial, peace, back to the trial. But then when you look back and you realize your growth through these trials, then you're thankful to the Lord, because the trial doesn't endure forever, but he's preparing us to be a vessel of honor. The vessels of honor are gold, silver, and bronze. You can only forge gold, silver, and bronze in a fire. You cannot forge a vessel of honor outside of a fire. That's why the Christians who are adverse to fires are immature, and they are wood, hay, and stubble. And they will be, when the true fire comes, when the true time of testing comes, they will burn up like chaff. And so that was my grand epiphany of why I'm in New York today. And I'm not saying he won't open a door, but like I said before, I'm like, I don't care what he does or when he does it. I don't need answers, and I don't have any, and I'm not going to explain it to anyone. When he does what he does will be fine with me. And I totally have peace about that. And so anyway, how are y'all? Hey Serena, um, happy Friday. I love Fridays. I'm telling you guys, I love Fridays so much. Got my hot tea, got my car clean, got a shower. Woo! It's gonna be a good Shabbat tomorrow. I'm telling you. I got all my stuff done today, like all my chores done. Such a good day. Mm. I didn't get my car washed on the outside, but I got it washed on the inside. And the car is filthy on the outside, so but it's all good. It'll get washed when it gets washed, or maybe it'll rain really hard and I'll have a clean car. But anyway, so yeah, happy Friday, Serena. I don't know if you guys are like following along on the teachings or anything, but if you have any questions, send them to my email that's in the description box. I'm going to talk about the inner court and the Holy of Holies, I think, in my next video. Because when we get to the Holy of Holies and the inner court, that's when we're going to talk about the 144,000 and that specific number, the 144,000, and what that means according to the temple. And so then we can get back to the book of Revelations after that. So if you guys have any questions about anything, you can send them in my email. I mean, the majority of the questions I've been getting last week were about water baptism. So I hope that last video cleared it up, because I had so many people reach out about water baptism. So, but all the baptisms are important. So, anyway, guys, yeah, I don't know, I'll probably Sunday or Monday, I'll probably get back and do the teaching on the temple, on the inner court and the Holy of Holies. But, I think that's it. I think that's it for today. I just wanted to jump on and say hi. It's a beautiful day. I'm so happy about it being warm. I can tell you that right now. Like, so I hope it doesn't get cold again, but it probably will. But anyway, New York is so nice when everyone's out in the streets. But yeah, so anyway, you guys have a good weekend. If nobody wants to get on the chat, then I'm gonna jump off. And I'll see you guys like either Sunday or Monday. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, Serena. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.